Hi, this is Dr. Go. For those who are new to my channel, I've been a professional violinist for over 20 years, be it in orchestras or a soloist conductor, and I've set up this channel as a platform for putting tutorials for my existing or former students, something of a resource center. Anyway, let's go on. This video is basically my celebration for hitting the 1,000 subscriber mark. And for the first time, I'm doing a tutorial without violin in hand. Anyhow, this topic, artistic process, is something that I feel is very important. And I found that a lot of my students have a lot of questions about this. So I decided to put this in a video format for them to refer to. And hopefully it's helpful to some other people that are following my channel. So I'm not the first person to organize these three things: building, interpretation, and performance. I'm not the first person to organize it as such. However, by putting some specifics down underneath them, I hope it'll help my students to see how to organize their time and the stepwise progression through their process of building a new piece. Okay? Now, of course, every student is a different place. Some people, beginner violinists, they might be stuck during building in just rhythm and intonation. Maybe they get a little better, they'll add bowings, articulations, a little bit of style. And as they progress, they'll add more and more factors. And you see, each section, I left 2 blank. That means you can add as many factors as you want. Great seasoned artists will definitely add a lot more factors in each one. This is just, for example. So here we go. In building, some basic things that are nice to take into account when you're first taking a look at a piece, okay, will be rhythm, intonation, of course, bowings, articulations, basic dynamics, which is how you're going to begin the piece, how you're going to build up to the culmination point, how you're going to release out to the end of your piece. The pacing is something like what's the speed you're going to take through each section building up to your culmination point. Okay, this is directly affected by your chord structure, which is something you will want to analyze for those of you who are more familiar with music theory. History and background, this is hugely important. So many students that I've encountered that have come to me from other teachers have very little knowledge on the history and background of the pieces they're playing, which I find actually it hampers their progress on their pieces. It really helps to understand the history and background of the pieces that you're playing, because it helps you to identify the piece, and that leads directly over to the story and the journey in interpretation. Now, although I listed under different sections, it does not mean that they are separate. All of these, they are related. It's still one process, okay? Now, as we go from building into interpretation, it's important to remember that, like I said, these all flow together. It's just kind of a stepwise thing. You want to build your quality and you're practicing first. You want to make sure everything is the best you can play. And as you're building in your interpretation, you start adding more and more factors in. So one thing about interpretation I need to say is that something that I was taught in conducting that applies very well to violin performance as well, is that when you work on a new piece, try to find 3 or 4 recordings, really professional recordings, completely different interpretations to listen to, so you can understand and know how other people have done what you're about to try to do. Okay? See what their solutions are, see what their decisions were, and apply to your own process. Yes? So under interpretation, things that you would think of interpretation, the character or atmosphere. Atmosphere is something like, if you imagine this, let's say a violin concerto, there's almost always an orchestral introduction. And that introduction creates the atmosphere. Now, if the artist does not have an idea of how they want to do this atmosphere to introduce their character may or may not make sense. Okay, so it's always important to always have the atmosphere in mind first and then build the character up from there. And in doing that, you have to know what the relationship is with the accompaniment, whether it's piano or violin, or symphony orchestra or chamber orchestra. You have to know that relationship so you can build your atmosphere. And of course, there's a story or a journey, which is directly related to the pacing. How are you going to tell the story or the journey? Basically all pieces, either they have a story to them or there's a journey to them. Some sort of journey that you're going to lead the audience through in the duration of the piece. How you wish to tell that, that's up to you. See how other performers have solved this, how the decisions have led to how they're telling that story, that journey, and see what you can come up with. It's part of being an artist. You have free choice on that. Now, we move from there to performance. One of the biggest things is mental discipline. I'll put a link in the description on one of my videos on using breathing to help with this. And that comes down to letting go also, because we, from building interpretation, especially, those of us who still take lessons, which is always a good idea, we have to, in our performance, we have to be able to let things go and, just keep a nice, clear mind of just involving everything about the performance, nothing about the practice before. If you're sitting there trying to remember every single detail, you might be in for a train wreck in your performance. Yes, that leads to muscular and mental preparation, the rule of 3 times. Here's the thing. Every difficult element, you'll want to drill to the point that it's in your muscle memory. Not muscle memory, but in your reflex nerves. I'll put a link in the bio of my video on the 3 parts of the brain and that we talk, when it comes to violin playing. And that leads up to the 3 times rule. There's a certain preparation that I was told to me, and it really worked, that no matter what piece you're about to play, whether it's a giant 3 or 4 movement concerto or something else, to play it through, run it 3 times in a row, no stop, no rest. I found that if I can do that, my mental endurance when I'm under stress is okay. My confidence is there. I know my fluidity of thought is going to be there. Everything is being drilled in. If I cannot get to the point of being able to run something through 3 times, I found through harsh experiences that my fluidity was not as good, and my confidence in my endurance was not there. So a lot of times I would have doubts start to enter into my mind, and even my best breathing and mental discipline, those things would creep into my mind and affect my performance. So by doing the 3 times, running it through 3 times in a row, no stop, no breaks or anything, it really does build that confidence inside the performer. Now, performing in the dark is something very important I like to talk about. Humans, we're visual predators. Yeah, we're visual creatures. A lot of times, because of our eyesight, we will ignore some of the messages that our ears and our touch, our sense of touch, are trying to teach us or communicate to us. So by performing in the dark, we take away the eyesight and we're just sitting there listening. Now, some people have come to me, Dr. Go, could we just close our eyes? Yeah, you could, but I've actually had some students that lost balance and fell over when they closed their eyes. So in the dark with your eyes open for better balance, even though you can't see anything, for some reason, I've had some students, I kid you not, the moment they close their eyes, their balance is gone, they fall over. So if you're one of those, please, when you practice in the dark, keep your eyes open. So, this is definitely not an exhaustive list. There are definitely other factors you can put to each of these three pieces. However, these arrows here show this one simple concept. What you learn here may cause you to go all the way back to building. You may go back to the drawing board again and again before you finally will have a finished product in performance that you are happy with. And it is okay to keep changing your mind in your building and interpretation until you are happy with your finished product. Now, if there's anything that I'm saying that is contrary to what your teacher is telling you, please ignore me, listen to your teacher. But if this is not different from what your teacher is telling you, I hope you get something useful out of this video. I thank each and every one of you for watching this video. My students that are watching this, I hope that this helps solidify some of the stuff that you covered in lesson with me. And please take your time to study your recordings and drill properly and patiently at home. Okay? Thank you. I wish all of you the best on this wonderful journey on this incredible instrument called the violin. Cheers.